Okay, so here it is. The lighting is better. Thank y'all. So, I have been watching a lot of Kevin Samuels. Yes, he is extremely easy on the eyes. He also, though, even though he's giving advice to heterosexual people, seemingly based on what I've seen, majority heterosexual women, he I received the advice because like he's giving that advice to people who are looking for a man. And I am a homosexual man who is looking for a man. So I can receive that advice that he gives, especially considering how he backs up what he says with statistics. Anyway, this might be a long video because I have a lot to say, but I did take notes, so it might not be quite as long as going totally misdirected. Anyway, I mentioned the whole Kevin Samuels thing because part of what he talks about is the danger zone versus no man's land. And at 38 years old, at this point, according to his statistics for heterosexual women, now I might get into it for gay men at another point, but I am in what is classified as no man's land at this point, and I have yet to find my man. So I don't know. And because of that, I hear him often give advice like, well, you never do better than your baby's daddy. So you should run back to him since he wanted to marry you and see what you all can do. Like, beg for forgiveness and see what you all can do. And while my best friend is very much not in favor of giving people second chances, from my perspective, I was like, again, applying it to my homosexual life. That sounds like a show. My homosexual life. That should be a show. Duly noted. But applying it to my homosexual life, I am like, well, there is somebody who was interested in me and interested in this 38-year-old piece of skin. And we talk a bit, and he is, like I always say, the only person who has come to visit me all the way up here in Cleveland from Maryland, where I used to live, although now he lives in another state entirely again. But I won't go into that. But I was like, well, maybe I need to hit him up, and it's time because, this is something else. Kevin Samuels says that he kind of makes it a black woman thing. I'd like to think that it's a woman thing in general and can be applied to people in general. But he's like, you've been sold this concept that marriage is supposed to be like this big happy thing that's here to make you happy. He's like, no, it's work. It's work. And you have to put in that work together. What's the benefit of it if it's not going to be there to make you happy? The benefit of it is you'll be going through it with a partner. And I'm going to make that a weekend tea topic a little bit for next week, I think. But all of that to say, I decided that I would use this Memorial Day weekend and sort of deliberately message him, see what he's talking about, blah, blah, blah. Because I'm like, you know what? Even though there are certain things that we have very strong disagreements on, he's a sincere dude. And he seems to. How many minutes? 5 minutes, and I haven't even made it to the point yet. But he's a sincere dude, and it's like perhaps he is an example of somebody that I should be taking the time to make things work with. Yeah, we have our disagreements, but maybe I should make things work with him. Fast forward to this conversation that we had today, and we get sexual sometimes in our anyway. Okay, so I'll go in order. I was talking to him, and I was like, yeah, I really like living in Cleveland. I'm starting to get to know some of the people in the creative community out here, and that's cool. And the Black creative community. And his response to me was, "Are y'all fucking?" And I knew he was kind of just. I knew he was. He was probably just playing, okay, and that's how I received it. So I respond because my imagination is not quite as vivid as it had once been sexually, but I enjoy a good made up sex novel, sex narrative. And so my response to him was, "Oh yeah, they get me good." And I took it as a chance to sort of hint to him that's something that I miss. All the things I miss at home. Although, see, Kevin Samuels have even told her, you should have worked it out. You should stick there and work it out if he is a good man. Okay? And I brought up, I was like, oh yeah, they love playing with my man boobs and blah, blah, blah. Because as I've said to all a billion times before, I have man boobs, and kids used to ridicule me a lot in school, and because I think I developed man boobs in junior high. So they were ridiculing me a lot, and I would try to walk around like this, hunched over so my shirt won't show my boobs, and all of that. It's called gynecomastia. And I find out, hey, once I get to college and start interacting with dudes physically, sophomore year is when I started that. Freshman summer, sophomore year. Anyway, but I realized a lot of dudes actually like a lot of gay dudes seem to really appreciate a man with man boobs. It's almost like they were feeling like, particularly back then, because we've made progress as a society, but particularly back then, because I think sometimes dudes were like, well, this dude is here sucking my dick, but the only thing I'm doing is sucking on some titties. So it's all good. It's all good with my understanding of the higher power, because I'm just sucking on titties while he's sucking on dick. So fuck him. But I'm just sucking on so anyway, all of that to say, I got into this conversation with him and I was like, yeah, dudes are really playing with my man boobs. And the reason I mentioned that to him is because I'm like, when I would engage with him, he would not play with my man boobs. Um, and it's not only a pleasure for the men, not only for a pleasure, only a pleasure for the men who get on this ride, but I enjoy having my. Okay, for crying out loud, it's not that big, but you see, that's what they are. And like I said, people used to tease me for it all the time. Anyway, but I enjoy having that area played with me. And I mentioned oh yeah, they're all playing with my man boobs because it was kind of a backdoor hint to tell him, hey, wink, wink, I like it when dudes play with them, so you can and should play with them, wink, wink. But the conversation ended up sort of, yeah, and like I said, I like to pretend that I'm very sexual via creating because I'm a creator and I like creating sexual narratives. I'm actually the kind of guy who will get turned on reading sexual literature online, but that hardcore sexual literature. Anyway, but that's ridiculous and that's just how it is. But I don't like to, not too much. And it becomes a problem when it's like, yes, when it seems like the only thing that you want to talk to me about is sexual activities. And it's like, okay, I did say that once, but, and we are adults, so we can get sexual, but we're adults, so we don't have to stay in the sexual realm. And it almost seemed like it got to the point that he was most interested in having the conversation with me. I know, I know, I know. In terms of sex. And I was like, and he even asked me to send him a photo. And I was like, now watch me be thirsty and do a screenshot from this video. But anyway, and send it to him. But I was like, oh, okay, and I tried to kind of steer the conversation away from all the sex talk, but that's where it was, and it kind of made me feel cheap, you guys. It made me feel a little cheap, and I it reminded me of a friend of mine who I don't cut people off, so I don't want to say I cut them off, but we don't talk as much, and I sort of made that same mistake with him. I guess fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But I made that same mistake with him in that we got into a really sexual conversation. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm up here in Cleveland. I'm prostituting for a pimp, a gorgeous pimp who calls himself Big Black Knight or something. And our conversation kind of became mostly that, which I wasn't opposed to at first, but when it got to the point that I was trying to have a conversation with him about something totally different, totally non-sexual, and it was something that he, I guess, just didn't want to talk to me about. He changed the subject, and he was like, "So what's been going on with you and your pimp?" And I'm like, "Really?" But we didn't even almost mention that. So what are you talking about? And I was like, okay, so I get it. You just see me as a fun person to talk to in terms of the pimp conversation, but outside of that, having regular adult conversations, I guess I'm not on your level to have such conversations, so you don't want to have such conversations with me. Okay, cool. And but when I was thinking about this topic all day, as I was walking back from the lake, because I walked to the lake today, you guys. Hallelujah, it was so beautiful. Yes, because when I first moved to this apartment, it was like the apartment sits right on the lake, but it's just too far for me to walk to it. So it's like I don't need to go into all of that, but I will say it was too far for me to walk to the lake when I first moved here. But now, hallelujah, hallelujah. I made the walk to the lake twice now. I've done it twice now. And I I I I love it. But anyway, as I was coming back from the lake, what I was thinking about was, wait a minute, you are upset with these two dudes because they seemingly interpret you as being just for sex talk. But what about the ex who you did that same thing to? You know, just like one of my favorite songs ever, Regina Bell, Show Me the Way. She says, I've been used and I've been good at using. So I've had people do that to me, but I've also done that to somebody. And I remember an ex of mine who I really, for those on my YouTube channel who go all the way back with me, I'll say I did the YouTube video about him. He was the, I won't say that. I won't. But I've done YouTube videos about him and us. Very old YouTube videos. Anyway, it seemed like he was very much into sex. So it seemed like I could go to him whenever I just wanted to talk sex. And because I don't really have a lot of sex. So I guess for me, I was like living vicariously through somebody who seems to have sex. Anyway, this is going to be a lot, but I'm what, 20 minutes in? 19? Oh my gosh. But okay, so I'm far enough in. I'll say that long story short, I'll explain that he told me that in his way back in his past, he actually sucked off a horse, and that is not a pun. Not sucked off a horse. It's not like the horse bust, but the horse came, and okay. Well, I guess I'm saying too much, but he sucked off a horse, and I was like, oh wow, I would have liked to have been a fly on that barnyard wall. And I sort of was talking to him more about sex stuff. And he eventually didn't want to. And I didn't realize this at the time, but now that it's happened to me, and he might have made up that whole horse thing. He might have made it up. I don't know. But now that it's happened to me, I realized, wait a minute. What if he was actually hurt? See, I'm almost like about to make myself cry thinking about it, but I think I'm okay. And but what if I made him feel the way that these guys made me feel? Making him feel like, oh, you think I'm just for sex just because I like sex sometimes. But I'm more than that. And that's just how it is. And as far as, okay, let me see. Yeah. But I'm not that sex all the time talk guy. I'm not. And he probably is not either. So that's probably why he cut back the conversation after he realized, oh, this guy, my ex, is just talking to me like all I am is a prostitute. Um, a prostitute at a really low point in his life. And I'm like, and I think for me, part of the thing is I used to have a fantasy. I used to fantasize back when I would I don't need to go into all that. But I used to imagine what it would be like if I had a loving pimp. And I saw a dude who was probably a pimp one time with two male prostitutes when I was at the Rite Aid years ago with my old singing group. And he walked in, and like the guys were like running around the store, like trying to get him stuff and everything. And it was like, oh, wow. It was such an interesting thing to see people being pimped, because the people who were being pimped were about my age, about our age, like our singing group. So it was like, wow, huh. And the pimp was like, and I still remember when I saw he walked in like it was a spring or summer day, and he walked in with a big fur coat. And I was like, that's kind of ridiculous. And I playfully in my mind said, you're a wolf in wolf's clothing, like pretending like that his fur was like wolf's fur. Anyway, but I sometimes enjoy imagining what it would be like to have a loving pimp who cares about me, but the way we make our money is he puts me on the road. Um, so I can play that sexual imagination game, but don't take it too far, because that's not me. That's not the sum of me. That is a piece of something that I sometimes fantasize about, but that is not the sum of me. Anyway, I think I've said it all. How many minutes? Too many minutes? 24? Oh, okay. That's 2 times 12. That's 2 times 12 too many minutes. 2 times 12 too many minutes. I'm trying to think of how to make it work. I can't. I'm not. But yeah, as far as him, I'm like, oh, why did you do that? Because I was thinking that we should be trying to work things out. And yes, I did talk all that sex talk with you, but that was because I was like, and us making things work. And us making things work, I would like that. Like, I know that bottoms on porn, like they get off just sucking. And I enjoy sucking. That doesn't do it all for me though. Like you got to give me some kind of pushback. Like I'm not a prostitute. Like, and no shade to prostitutes. And I even made a note in here. I'm not trying to slut shame anyone. Anyway, I'll make another video if more is necessary. Talk to y'all later, social media family. I hope I didn't say too much. Peace, tea, stay blessed.